Good morning, Judge Mia. How are you? Oh, your mic is off. Just switch it on and bring it closer to you. I know you are very soft-spoken.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chief Justice, and good morning, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge President. And
this is not your first time before this commission, is it?
no, it isn't.
So you know the
Yes.
You know the drill. Okay. You obtained a BA and LLB from the University of Cape Town in 1989 and 1995, respectively. And then went on to the University of the Western Cape, where you did a master's. Was your master's in human rights?
It was in children's rights and criminal constitutional law.
Oh, I'm confusing you with another candidate. All right. You have a long and illustrious career, judicial career, that starts in January 1996, where you worked for the Legal Aid SA. You were there for a year?
Yes.
Then your CV says, your questionnaire says professional assistant at one, I assume, attorney's firm. Did you do articles? What exactly did you do there?
I was a professional assistant. CJ, my articles were served at Legal Aid.
Oh.
Yes.
All right. But you were there for a very brief stint and got a job with the South Peninsula Municipality as a legal advisor.
Yes.
Didn't stay long there either.
So the reason why I left was because of an uncomfortable experience. The legislation had just changed, so you couldn't be discriminated against at that stage for being pregnant. I'd been appointed and I was pregnant. When I went for the interview, I was pregnant. And when I was appointed, I think at that stage, the municipality tried to withdraw the offer. HR said, no, you can't. But during the brief month that I was there, I was subjected to a lot of comments about being pregnant and being barefoot and staying at home. And during that month, I'd received another offer from the Department of Justice, and I indicated that I was pregnant. And when I considered the treatment I was receiving at the municipality in terms of the comments being made and the discomfort I was experiencing as a result, I made the decision to leave the municipality and go to the Department of Justice, where they were comfortable with my being pregnant.
Yeah. Common experience of childbearing women in many areas of the workspace, unfortunately, even to this day. So you went back to the Department of Justice and did a whole lot of things there, family advocate, became a magistrate, until your appointment as a judge.
Yes.
Well, you started acting in 2009 and was finally appointed permanently when?
In 2020.
2020, yes. After many years and many stints,
Yes.
acting stints in between, in the South Gauteng High Court. Oh, you acted in various divisions, actually. Western Cape, Gauteng, and the Free State.
Yes, I started in the land claims court. I went to Cape Town, to Gauteng, Bloemfontein, and then back to Gauteng.
Right. And by then you had risen to the position of senior magistrate in the magistracy.
Yes.
All right. When did you start working in the land claims court?
In 2009, I started in the Land Claims Court, and
Or your acting stint was
my
in that
acting
court?
stint was in that court, and I stayed there for a period of 18 months.
When were you seconded after your permanent appointment to that court?
It was in, so I served a period,
Sorry?
so whilst I wasn't seconded, I served a period in the Land Claims Court for a term in 2020.
2020.
Yes.
And have you worked in that court since?
I spent a month in the Land Court in September, this past
September.
Yes.
And that's the extent of your experience in that court?
Yes.
Okay. I have no doubt you are an experienced judge. You have the advantage of having acted in various divisions. You know the common challenges facing the judiciary, and I imagine that in your time in the Land Court, you have been able to pick up whatever challenges the court may be having, and hopefully have an idea on how to solve, if possible, some or all of those challenges. Would you tell us what you've identified as needing to be improved, changed in the Land Court?
Chief Justice, I've sat in at the request of the Deputy President and the acting, the Judge President, the acting Deputy Judge President on meetings in the Land Court. So when there are meetings with the legal bodies, the meetings with legal aid, so the addressing of legal representation for parties. I've sat in on those meetings, and I am comfortable that that is an issue that needs to be addressed. Legal aid has indicated how they wish to be brought in on those matters, and that has been indicated in terms of how they will be accommodated. They've indicated that it's not possible to have somebody at the court, but they can be contacted to be brought in. With regard to the backlog, I have assisted with case management meetings. There is a substantial backlog. I've indicated that even if I'm back at Gauteng, I'm willing, subject to Judge President's permission, to assist with those matters. That is an area that requires preparation of matters because they need attention long before they're ready. With regard to case lines, that I understand has been rolled out, and those matters will be enrolled initially for Esther matters, and I understand that there's training in the Western Cape. With regard to training, I have been a facilitator for the South African Judicial Education Institute. So I bring that training skill that can be, that can support the Judge President in the Land Court. With regard to meetings with other stakeholders, I've sat in on that, on those meetings. And in terms of supporting the processes that need to be rolled out. I haven't sat in on the meeting with the special master, so I wasn't able to contribute to that. But with regard to the other meetings, I'm able to support the process in terms of rolling out, engaging with stakeholders, and contributing towards ensuring that the court runs effectively. With regard to engaging legal practitioners, that is an aspect that is ongoing. With regard to mediation and arbitration, that is something that I understand the Judge President will envisage identifying persons in due course. That is something that will be implemented at a later stage. So I think in terms of engaging with role players and stakeholders, I've had that experience in another life as a senior magistrate in the judiciary, and it's not something that is foreign to me. And in terms of bringing that skill, that is something that I can bring to this court, and I can support the Judge President in terms of that leadership, and to work with the colleagues in the land court.
Okay. Have you finished?
Yes.
All right. Have you had an opportunity to act in a leadership position in the higher judiciary? That is, as a judge, not in the magistracy now.
So in terms of a leadership position, not in a deputy judge president's position, no, I haven't, but in terms of taking leadership positions where I'm on a committee, yes, I do serve on committees in the court, and I'm a Hague Network judge. So in that regard, in terms of facilitating meetings, in that regard, yes.
How many judgments have you written as a judge? Or just an estimate, it doesn't have to be an exact figure. Since you started acting in 2009?
I'd have to I think I would count over 100.
Mm-hmm. Any in the land claims court?
In the land claims court, I think there would be about 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and any of these judgments reported?
2.
Which ones?
So it was the Bapiring matter and the Farias matter.
All right. I know you're very active in the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges and do a lot of mentoring and gender advocacy. Can you just tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so at the present, I serve as the provincial coordinator in the chapter. There's a gender-based violence program that is run with that has just been launched with the Department of Education, and that is to sensitize youth around the issue of gender-based violence. The chapter has source funding to record a video which is intended to be screened to youth and which serves as the basis to facilitate questions, but to inform youth around different aspects of gender-based violence and to empower them around those aspects. Another aspect is the mood court program that we've participated in. There are programs around health and wellness, and in December there's programs around awareness around AIDS and gender-based violence during the 16 days of activism. And then there's an initiative with the University of Johannesburg in order to launch a mentorship program. Apart from that, the chapter has its own mentorship program that it runs with in conjunction with universities where there are final year law students that are placed either with a judge or a legal practitioner, which runs for approximately 10 months of the year. And during that period, those law students are exposed to the work that the mentor that they are placed with, as well as they're afforded to sit in on lectures, and they're exposed to the practical aspect of the legal profession.
You are also involved with other civil society organizations such as NICRO, SANCA, and others, and the Africa Regional Judges Forum as well.
Okay, so NICRO and SANCA were previously. I am involved with the African Regional Judges Forum, and the African Regional Judges Forum has an annual meeting, and it intends to sensitize judges on different aspects. It started out with HRB. It then addressed a different topic each year, so also including HIV, but then moving on to raising awareness around the conditions in prisons, about the position of transgendered persons and refugees. And each year, there's an opportunity to consider the position of a person who has the actual experience. So apart from just listening to experts in the field, the forum seeks to invite a person who has had the experience. So by way of example, a person who has been incarcerated would give the experience, or a transgender person would give the experience, but judges from the continent who have written seminal judgments on the particular topic would also share their views. There have been persons who have been incarcerated, experience recovery from HIV and TB in our own prisons, who have tried to sensitize judges around the issues that they've experienced in prisons, and to help inform the position around sentencing and the circumstances. The Inspectorate of Prison has also addressed the forum on occasion, and I think our Judge President has also addressed the forum on one of the occasions. So it seeks to sensitize judges, and it's an opportunity for judges on the continent to share the experiences in terms of their judgment, as well as to engage on those issues.
Okay. You wrote a published article, but that was before you started acting as a judge. I suppose the bench has taken that out of you. You wrote on the impact of cultural values on maintenance orders.
Yes, that was very early on when I was on the district court bench.
Why have you not written again? Lack of time, I suppose.
Yes, I think with my involvement in the SSCI WJ and on the bench, I think there just hasn't been time, because I've moved a lot, changed between the positions, going to the High Court, coming back, and organizing, being in different positions through the organization. There's been a lot of movement.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Meyer. I'll hand over to your JP, Karelse, to questions.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Judge Meyer, you and I know each other for many years. We've worked together as colleagues, and I also know that your history from your CV speaks for itself. You've always made yourself available to work with children, vulnerable groups, and I know that access to justice from your CV, as well as the area of gender equality, is very close to your heart. I also wanted to just be clear about something, is that the circumstances didn't allow for you to be appointed as an acting DJP at the Land Court. I'd only been appointed from the 1st of June. But I did give you opportunities. I invited you to, because we're 3 judges, permanent judges, 4 with myself. It's a very small court, the tasks are huge. And my approach was that the court would be run by a team of judges. So I invite all judges to attend meetings, keep them abreast of what's going on, and consult with them about problems and challenges that the court faces. So you have been involved on a level of administration, is that not so? Okay. Now, knowing the operational challenges and that the Land Court currently faces in relation to its logistics, its human resources, financial resources, just for record purposes, the Land Court was allocated a budget in April of 500,000 Rand to do restitution matters and to travel throughout the country. Yeah, and of course our caseload, which you did manage. Tell me, in your view, the Land Court is in a critical critical period of transition. It's a newly established court. What is your vision for this newly established Land Court, given our challenges, our difficulties?
I think the budget is going to determine the extent to which the court can fulfill its mandate. However, there has been engagement with the role players, and to the extent that there has been enlistment of pro bono practitioners, I think that assists. I think that the issue of the backlog being addressed in terms of the historical backlog, that is an issue that can be addressed in the interim in terms of case management. So for the present, I think that what needs to be determined is the process going forward in terms of dealing with the historical backlog. With regard to the matters in terms of ESTA, I think there's already been training in that regard. So going forward, to the extent that that needs to be rolled out further, that can be addressed. The issue with regard to going, the court online project is limited at this stage. Once there is clarity on how successful that is, I think that will be rolled out. My view is that court online should be rolled out completely to all matters to the extent that it is feasible for practitioners, especially with regard to applications. Opposed motions can be dealt with virtually. Unopposed matters can be dealt with virtually. And having sat on some of the case management matters, practitioners are requesting that matters be, so with interlocutory applications and opposed motions, there's a request that those matters be dealt with on a virtual basis so that a cost can be saved. In terms of traveling, I'm not saying that it's not necessary to take the court to the provinces. That is something that must happen in order to make the court accessible to people. But I think that where it's possible that matters can be dealt with, where matters can be dealt with virtually, that that opportunity is pursued given the limited budget.
Okay, just for record purposes, our court online, the only area that's excluded are unrepresented persons. We've now taken it across to all applications, and the only persons, because of financial constraints, unable to upload, don't have the infrastructure. We haven't extended court online to unrepresented persons yet.
So to the extent that they are unrepresented persons, Gauteng has a facility where persons are assisted, and to that extent, the land court can look at, and perhaps we need to look at how that can happen with regard to unrepresented persons and the feasibility of it. Does it happen at the court, and where those unrepresented persons are? If they're in the provinces, how that happens and whether that is feasible or not. But to the extent that it is, they are in the within the precincts of the court or in the same province, we could roll out a service similar to what happens in South Gauteng High Court, where they are assisted.
Thank you. Can I ask one last question, Chief Justice? Yeah.
Hey, you are the head of that court, so you get a larger share than the rest of us.
Mike.
Mike, please.
Yeah, the debate and the discussion around sexual harassment was raised by the previous candidate, so I took it upon myself to engage with her. And I'd like to ask you, Judge Mia, the same question, and it's tied to your leadership as well, your leadership abilities. If you were to receive a complaint as head of the court, DJP in this instance, of sexual harassment, how would you deal with it? And are you aware of any judicial policies around the question of sexual or policy relating to sexual harassment in the judiciary?
Thank you, Judge President. I'm aware of a draft policy that has been circulated, at least in South-Gauteng. The draft policy indicates what the position is. It describes sexual harassment. It gives definition to the term. And in terms of the policy, it requires that the matter be dealt with seriously, and it requires that the matter be referred to the JSC for investigation.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
It's just a correction, Judge Mia, and it's not your fault. If anything, it's my fault. There is actually an approved sexual harassment policy that is yet to be disseminated to the rest of the judiciary shortly.
Chief Justice, I do recall that there was a policy signed before the previous Chief Justice left. Yes, but because it wasn't circulated, I can't speak to that. So I'm just speaking to the draft that I was aware of.
I was just placing that on record. Okay. It doesn't reflect on you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nukes?
Thank you, Chief Justice, and good afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
You are applying for the position of the Deputy Judge President, meaning that you will be expected to give support to the Judge President. Can you tell what is the vision, as you understand, of the Judge President for that division? I mean, for the land court, which you will be supporting and you fit yourself to. What do you understand is the vision of the Judge President for that court?
So I understand the Judge President's position is to give effect to the legislation that supports that court. So it is with regard to addressing the backlogs in the court, giving effect to land restitution, dealing with those cases. In terms of the Judge President's vision, from the time that I've been there, she's been, the way she works is that she's been inclusive. She has reached out to stakeholders in terms of addressing the manner in which she will be dealing with issues in the court. So she seeks to address the issues in terms of dealing with the backlog. She has the vision that she wants to ensure that there's access to justice in dealing with the legislation and the new act that has come into being.
Sorry, Judge. I think you are guessing this. I'm sorry to say. It seems that this is what you think is the vision of the JP. Have you followed up with the JP? What is the vision? Because you are going to support. The reason I'm asking is because we are a support to the Judge President. You have to give support. Do you understand? Do you know? If you don't know, don't keep what you think it is. Have you discussed this with him? Do you understand what she wants to happen in the land court? Are you aware as a fact?
Commissioner, to the extent that I've sat in on the meetings and she has discussed what she wants to see happen in the court, that is what I'm speaking to.
Okay. Then my last second question, because I was clear. Now, I understand that as we are applying for a leadership position, one of the basics, you must demonstrate intellectual leadership to steer, meaning that which we can see from your judgment. Which of your judgments would you say, for purpose of the land court, and so far as the land court is concerned, and in particular, the law that relate to the issues of land, that you can say, this is my judgment. What judgment can you take us? Because this that we are referring to, there's nothing that comes up from my perspective. Which judgment can you point and say, this is the judgment that seeks to transform the whole question of land redistribution, restitution, what? I mean, which judgment would you say, this is a judgment that I present, would say I can steer the land court as a judge, as a leader, sorry.
Yes, I don't think I've sat on a restitution matter recently. And the two reported judgments are the Farias matter and the Bapiring matter.
No, Judge, what I'm trying to say, sorry to interrupt, I'm done now. But all what I wanted to say, you say there is this judgment. In this particular judgment, this is what it was about. And this judgment addresses this particular principle in terms of acceleration of land distribution in the interpretation of the giving effect to the Constitution, Section 25, or like a case that, a judgment that will tell us that this is the judgment, this is the principle. This is the situation, this is the principle that arises from that particular case of your interpretation. As a leader, this is a direction at the level of your intellectual leadership. That is, as a leader of that court, as a deputy judge president, will have to take responsibility, particularly in some complex cases.
Okay, then I'll refer to Farias. We had to determine the value of, it was a restitution matter where the land was restored, but the value of the land had to be determined, the compensation had to be determined, and the money value had to be determined over a period of time. I was required to determine that. I considered the different methods that were placed before me, and I made a determination of the appropriate value that was to be determined.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Could I just follow up on that so that I don't have to raise my hand? Judge Mia, thank you for the answer you've given to Commissioner Nochesi. I want to go back to the Bapiring judgment.
Yes.
I understand it's a 2010 judgment.
Yes.
And that's 14 years ago. And it might be that your views have evolved over time.
Yes.
But it was a singular judgment because I think you gave it with the judge. Geldenhuys, yes, who was regarded as a doyen of that institution. But it was regarded, I think even at the time, as a very retrogressive judgment, taking the law backwards, because what it did is it's to put the issue of feasibility at the beginning of the trial. And the way it approached feasibility, even at that stage, was viewed by many land lawyers as anti-transformational, because it required an assessment into whether a community could take up a particular commercial space of land. And if the answer to that question is no, then a priori, restoration is not feasible, and therefore the debate should be, should they get money or not? So I just wonder whether, in the light of what has happened in the last 14 years on land jurisprudence, you would still hold on to that view, which is one of the reasons many land lawyers have said we've had a very constrained land reform coming from judges, not from the executive. Whether you think that that approach of putting feasibility, in a sense, as a cart before the horse, before you even look at whether there is an entitlement to restoration, whether that approach is correct and whether you would persist with it in the light of what you know now. I give some admission that it's been 14 years and maybe you were also new in the space and there's a lot you've now learned.
Commissioner, yes. I probably would write that decision differently. I recall at the time that I had posed particular questions to enable me to consider a different position at that stage. And there was very little forthcoming at that stage to write it differently. But yes, I would invest more in order to look at it differently.
And of course, Bapiring is the judgment that brought, not your judgment, but the Bapiring story is the story that brought disrepute to land reform, because it's the case where the government paid R1 billion to white people in Mpumalanga when it should have paid 300 million rands. But the starting point was your judgment, and that's why I'm thinking about, well, maybe it was 14 years ago and maybe things have moved on, but thank you for your answer.
I don't know if you want to say anything in response, Judge May.
I think that, yes, there's always an opportunity to look at the context differently. And with the passage of time, one is able to review and to reconsider. And I think that the SCA did look at that decision. And so that has been instructive.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good day, Judge Meyer.
No.
Mia, sorry.
Sharing, that's me.
Good day. David Fraser. I think the mic is off. Sorry, I can't hear.
I don't know what's happening. It was on. I just want to refer you to page 13 of the paginated bundle. My question relates to your acting appointments in the Land Claims Court. Paginated bundle, page 13. Of your section.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Commissioner San?
I just wanted to clarify, because I'm also looking for the same paginated page 13. The one we have, or the one I have, is still the
13.
CV on paginated page 13.
13. Yes.
There are two bundles, and yeah,
No,
it's in one of the bundles.
it's a section that relates to her forms, her application. So the first section related to Judge Cowan, and the second section of the bundle relates to Judge Mia, and it's page 13.
Where her CV is.
Sorry?
Where her CV is.
Yes.
All right. Have you found it, Judge Mia?
I found it.
All
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you very much. Now, about line 1, 2, 3 from the top of the page, acting judge from 11 to 31st December 2010, 18 months. And then on top, second line, on top, you have got May 2009 to October 2010. What I just want to establish exactly how many months did you spend or as an acting judge at the land claims? Because 11 to 31st of December 2010, it's really not 18 months.
So the period,
Sorry?
the period, so the second line and the third line, the period of 18 months is calculated. Sorry, the error is my error.
Sorry, it's a mistake.
It's May 2009 to October 2010 and December 20.
So I take it you meant to combine the two acting stints,
So
and
the
they both
two
make up 18 months.
Line 1, line 2 and line 3. The period is indicated on line 3 because there's no period indicated at the end of line 2.
Yes.
My question relates to the number of judgments that we have penned since joining the land claims court. And there was a question that was put to you by the Chief Justice regarding the number of judgments that you had written. And you indicated that we have got 14 judgments in the land claims.
I said approximately 10.
10, okay. But they are not indicated on this form.
No, they are not indicated on this form.
Are they not important, or don't they have any presidential value, or what?
I've listed the two judgments that I thought were significant. The earlier judgments were, I think because of the time, because it was such a long time ago, I didn't include them.
And my last question relates to the jurisprudence of the Land Claims Court relating to the meaning of the community in terms of the Restitution Act. As you are well aware that if a community claim is lodged, then the community must show that there were a group of people whose rights in land are derived from the shared rules determining access to land in common by such a group. Now, going through the cases at the land claims court, it will seem to me that a number of claims have been dismissed on the basis that the community was unable to establish that they were a community at the time of disposition because of the intervention of farmers or the people that took over the land. How would you deal with a definition of the community? Because it seems to be very restrictive.
Especially because the community itself is disrupted by colonialism.
I think it's based on the evidence that is led. And I think when I started in 2009, what happened at that stage is the LRC had applied to lead evidence of elderly members of communities because the view was held that with the passage of time, that evidence would have been lost because of the passing of those community members, but the evidence would have been retained had the proceedings been captured in terms of the oral evidence. And I think that is important in terms of capturing that evidence in terms of being enabling the court to make a determination with regard to what the community's, the history of the community's use with regard to the land.
Thank you, CJ. No further question.
Thank you, DP. Commissioner Ntweni Tsipan. Any further questions for the candidate, colleagues? Oh, JP Mlambo, sorry.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge Mia.
Good morning, Judge President.
There are a number of projects currently ongoing at the Land Court. The rolling out of case lines, the historical cases project, the engagement with communities using Causa. Are you involved in any of these projects?
Judge President, whilst I was there, I sat in on meetings relating to those projects, but as I'm not sitting on that court, I have not, I'm not allocated to anything specifically, but I have played a role in engaging whilst I was there.
All right. What do you think are the current establishment needs judicially, that is judicial establishment needs of the court?
So if the position of the Judge President and the Deputy Judge President were not factored in, there'd only be two judges, I think there would be a need for at least another 6 judges, between 6 and 10 judges. And I think if there are judges appointed on an acting basis, that judges can be appointed progressively on a permanent basis.
My last question. What is your leadership philosophy since you're applying for a leadership position?
Judge President, I think the manner in which I work at present is inclusive on the committees where I work in Gauteng, and I think I bring that over to the land court. In my positions outside of the judiciary, where I work in the SSC IWJ, it serves to give the opportunity for people to support people and to give the opportunity for people to contribute. So I would be inclusive in that. Similarly, in this position, I think the Judge President has from the outset indicated that her vision is inclusivity. I subscribe to that, and I think I would allow for an opportunity where there'd be inclusivity, notwithstanding that some judges are in different provinces. I think we are able to address that with virtual participation and to still ensure that there is inclusivity and contributions, and that all judges are able to contribute to the growth of the land court.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, JP. Any more questions for the candidate? Prof. Marumachai?
No, nothing from my side, CJ. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Judge Mia, we've reached the end of your interview. Thank you very much for making yourself available for the vacancy, and wish you all the best. You're excused.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and thank you, Commissioners.